that's fancy.
Nice.
All right. So welcome to third grade. Hi, Frankie. We are going to go over some different curriculum things as far as what we're going to cover this year academically, some developmental stuff, and then some things that you can do at home to help your kiddos, and what the North Carolina state law says about third grade readers.
Before we start, let's introduce us, because some people might not even know me. I'm Lisa Sharp, so if you're new to Julie's class, I'm the other third grade teacher. Julie.
I'm Julie.
Naylor.
I think I know all of you, pretty sure.
And then we have an intern again this year, Savannah Johnsey. Wave, Savannah, say hi.
Hello.
Hello. So she's with us until December. Again, just like Miss Cherry was last year. So we'll go through, we just have slides just as talking points. Feel free to stop us at any point, and then we'll ask for questions at the end.
Or if you have a question and you want to type it into the chat, and then we can, when we pause, we can go through the chat and answer what's already in there also. All right, share screen. Here we go. Welcome to third grade parent night. I can't see everybody now. That makes me sad. Okay, there's some faces. So the first thing that we want to talk about is if you are new to CFCI, we've got a few new families this year. What is the classroom culture like at CFCI? We follow what's called responsive classroom. It's a fundamental style of approach of being proactive as far as teaching people young people how to interact with each other.
Because that's what they're gonna have to do in the real world. So if they make a mistake, they break something, they fix it. If they hurt someone's feelings, they fix it. You won't see like the stoplight, like red light, yellow light, green light system at our school or anything like that. But we start the year with a lot of team building. We all create our own rules in the class. Both classes have just finished our rule making for the year. We do a lot of guided practice. So if I mean, even as basic as how do we use a glue stick? Like turning the knob back down before you put the lid on.
How to take your
walk
folder out of your mailbox so
Yes.
all of your papers don't fall out of it.
We're still learning.
That takes a lot of practice.
Yes. How do you walk in the classroom without running into someone? Lots of things like that.
And they've got multiple opportunities to try it. And if they don't do it right, they can try it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they intentionally don't do it right, then it's a conversation and it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah, we do. Take a break. We talk in class about taking a break or timeout being like, think of you're on a sports team. If your coach calls a timeout, it's because you need to like compose yourself, collect your thoughts, and try something again. Sometimes if it's a little bit more serious, there might be more of a loss of privilege. In math, we've been using a lot of whiteboards recently, and I give them a warning. If you are drawing when I'm teaching, then I'm going to take your whiteboard and you can just do this on paper. And so that's an example of loss of privilege. Sometimes we might contact you. We try to contact you for the good things, as well as, if we need to have a chat.
But also it might be an email of like, just heads up, so-and-so had a hard time with this situation. This is how we handled in class. We just wanted to let you know, like we're not asking you to punish them or have another consequence at home. We're just trying to keep that line of communication open because we've already handled it in the responsive classroom way in the classroom.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
The next slide. So responsive classroom has
it's called yardsticks.
Side hustle called yardsticks, which is what's developmentally appropriate for each grade level. And so third graders developmentally are interesting beings. I feel like they're not like any others. And so when I email out this slideshow, there's a little click here button. I have linked it to the yardsticks chapter about third grade. But just some different milestones that you will see with your third grader that might be new, or you might be like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And it really becomes clear about November, I think, as far as some of these hitting points. Socially, they're very gendered groups. They will not mix. The girls will only want to play with the girls, and the boys will only want to play with the boys. And so we do a lot of mixed grouping intentionally to make them have to talk to each other.
And we're very like I have 15 boys and 6 girls. Yeah, so it makes it a little bit difficult. And this is interesting too, because second grade is, instead of large friend groups, they like to be more paired up. So it changes for us as well, the way that we do things in class. So we try to keep that developmental lens in mind when we're going about our day.
Some other things that you'll see are just, they've got a lot of energy. They're very excited to do something and they're going to hit it right away, but then they're going to die out from it. And they might come back to it later on, but it's going to be over a longer extended amount of time. They're more coordinator, but better hand-eye coordination. Mentally, they are, Heather's texting me, distracting me. Heather, stop texting. They care about not only what they produce, but how they produce it. So they want to make sure that they've got all of the steps right along the way, as well as the outcome. And I thought this was really interesting as I was kind of going back and reading through some of this about the verbal stages of the third graders, is that their vocabulary is increasing so rapidly. They have so much to say that they're not the best listeners.
It explains a lot. Raise
your hand if that's true at your house. I would raise my hand. Yes, Jessica. All right. Next slide. Moving on. All right, so we're going to get into subject areas kind of now, just of what we're going to cover for the rest of the year. Math. Tag.
We use Eureka Math. We use Eureka K8, I think, or is it K6? All right, K8. And so these are our modules. Right now we are multiplying and dividing single numbers. We're really focusing on 1 to 5 and tens. Actually, no, not tens, because that's not a single number. Well, they are doing tens.
It's the numbers that you would skip count by.
Yeah.
You can skip count by threes.
Yeah.
We have a song. I'm very bad at it.
So our next module will be measurement. And I remember when I first taught Eureka, I was like, why in the world are we getting into measurement next? But I just trusted the system, and it really helps build upon, each module helps build towards the end, which becomes fractions. You all know that to be a successful mathematician, especially as you go through the years, it is really important to have those facts, I won't say exactly memorized, but they need to have quick recall. And we're really working on that in class right now. We do either a sprint every day, or we do skip counting every day, or some sort of activity to help them practice those, getting those facts down. That is definitely something you can do at home as well. I would say that is probably the biggest thing you could do to help your learner this year in third grade, because I've put up some 4th and 5th grade problems for them. And I'm like, next year and in 5th grade, you're not going to have time to skip count, like, what is 3 times 4 if you're solving 347 times 28, right? So, so just kind of keep in mind, so right now it's 1 through 5 and tens. Then we'll take a break from it for a little bit and then get back to multiplying and dividing. And then we'll revisit it again when we do fractions later in the spring. Oh, that was all of that. And they do, this is their first year to have a end of grade math test through North Carolina. They also have an end of grade reading test, and they just took a beginning of grade reading assessment. So third grade is kind of big. This is the year we start those standardized tests that will go with them.
Yeah, I'll do reading. So Second grade, we really hit hard those fundamental reading skills as far as making connections and synthesizing and all of that. Now we are doing more reading to learn. So we have the process down. Now what information can we get from it? The assessment tool that we use as a benchmark for our school is called M-Class is the producer, but it's known as Dibbles, the Dynamic Indicator of Basic Early Literacy Skills. And Dibbles assesses fluency, accuracy, comprehension, and vocabulary. Previously, so if you've had a third grader already, you have heard the speech about they either have to pass the EOG with a level 3 or higher, or be reading at a level Q. This year that has changed. And there are new state mandates from the Read to Achieve law as far as what constitutes a proficient reader in third grade. They are looking for a composite score of 445 by the end of the year. Lisa Cole, who is one of our academic support specialists, is going to come in kind of near the end of this presentation and talk about how that composite score is created and what that means.
You are going to be getting a couple of things in the next couple of weeks. You're going to be getting your child's, like a report of where they are now, their composite score, and how they, what score they got achieved on each of the sub skills. And within the next week, our BOG scores should be coming in as well. So that will kind of give you an idea of where your child is at that point. If we need to set up a meeting and chat about how we're going to help them become better readers, of course, we will reach out to you and do that. They're really looking more at the science of reading. So think more, it's more phonetic skills, like going back and like how quickly they can do sight words, but also like nonsense words include, yeah. So we are really, one of the things that we do every day is some word work. We do like word work patterns every week. And so we're really trying to help boost that with not only spelling, but also their fluency and how well they're able to read words quickly through that as well. But we are also still paying attention to their comprehension and their vocabulary, which is growing apparently in third grade.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's not pretty. So what Lisa was just talking about as far as word work, we do what's called a spelling inventory that kind of assesses what phonics skills they've mastered as far as spelling patterns, initial blends, digraphs. And we've recently started leveling spelling groups based on what we've seen from these spelling patterns. And like Lisa said, we do different activities with them every day. So they're practicing this. And I mentioned to mine this morning that they should be prepared for a spelling test tomorrow. And you would not believe how many of them got out paper to write down their spelling words.
I've been giving a spelling check every Friday, and I've been really, really impressed by, so you may notice just a piece of notebook paper coming home. We're not sending it home for you for them to study every night or anything like that, like what we did in school. We really are giving them opportunities to practice in the classroom multiple times every week. And if there's some patterns that they're not mastering, then that's something we can address separately with those children. But so far, so good. They're taking it seriously.
Not on all the things. Yeah. Right. Writing is very similar to what you experienced last year in second grade. We still use Lucy Calkins. In third grade, we hit 3 big points: narrative, informative, and opinion pieces. And in those opinion pieces at the end of the year, we're really working on persuasive writing. So showing your opinion and now trying to persuade someone else to it. I think there's more clicky thing. So this is just the writing process that will follow through these different pieces that we'll work on throughout the year. Our first, we are working on personal narratives right now, and then we will be moving into informational writing about our space topics.
And every day, like the past few weeks, we've been reading a lot of mentor texts so we can see how authors write to, how they use vivid language or descriptive words to help their readers visualize, or how they use dialogue. And so after we read a mentor text, we're expecting them to also put that in their own writing as well. So they're really growing.
Social studies topics for this year. We have 3 big ones to hit. Landforms, where we'll talk about geography and the movement of people based on geography. Government, branches local and federal, and local and U.S. history, that will look more like learning about big events through U.S. history timelines.
Yeah, that's my favorite probably, is we do that in the spring, and we started out by teaching them about tall tales, like Paul Bunyan and all of that. And that kind of like sets the stage for, westward expansion and
John Henry.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we start it. And then they are able to choose their own topic based on U.S. history. We try to limit it. Some of them want to do like big things like World War II. I mean, that's an impossible task to tackle. So like narrowing that down, we read a lot of the diary entries from Dear Diary, or what is that? The not American Girl. It's like Dear America.
Dear
Those
America,
diaries,
yeah.
Those are awesome. This is more springish. Fall, we do a lot of science.
Here's science. Here we go. So in the fall, we're hitting our space unit, and then we'll get into force and motion from there. So right now, this week, we've done shadows, looking at the sun doesn't move. And then,
as we see it, but never mind. Go ahead.
And then we'll go into force and motion from there.
There's Lisa Cole.
I know. To human body, looking specifically at the skeletal, respiratory, digestive, muscular, and nervous systems. And then in the spring, we'll do plants and soil. That's my favorite project, is the plant project. A few years ago, we grew some radish seeds in the classroom. And so everybody took home a little baby radish plant, and they had to change one thing. Like, one kid wanted to put it in their closet, and one kid wanted to water it with Coke, and one kid wanted to play music for it, and one wanted to pet it. And then we all brought them back in at the end and compared how our little radishes did. And it was really cool to see the different outcomes of those experiments.
I like the arcade. They get to build a game that shows what they've learned about forces in motion. And then we set all their games up in the multi-purpose room, and everybody from school gets to come and play their games. We started a few years ago. It's been a real community. It's like one of those community building events they didn't get to do last year because of COVID, and hopefully we'll get to do it this year, even if we have to do it outside.
We'll do it outside. It's fun. What's next? Oh, field trips. Field trips to look forward to.
Do you want to let Lisa go, or should we?
I don't know. I think we should let Lisa stay.
Okay.
We're almost done, Lisa. Looking forward to the planetarium. So in Sunset Beach, there is Ingram Planetarium. We usually go and do like the hour-long movie presentation. The chairs tip back, and they'll do a whole Earth and our universe and a constellation show. Very, very cool. Then they have a hands-on science room. We actually have it on the to-do list for tomorrow to call them and see what days they have available for us next month. So going out in the Friday email tomorrow is a link for the volunteer sign-up form. If you want to drive on that trip, you have to be an approved volunteer.
Is it volunteer 1 or 2?
Whichever
one that you have to
be
have a background
with children.
Yes,
that one, whatever number that is. When we get to that history project, we'll go to the Cape Fear Museum downtown and learn about local history. And then in the spring, we do some plant field trips with whoever will take us.
Farms and plants.
Here's our special schedule that goes out in the newsletter. That's what it is.
It's different. It's not a daily schedule like it has been in years past. It's a 10-day rotation. So my kids are getting ready to start art tomorrow.
And we have Spanish.
The only heads up you need is when they have PE, and we'll always let you know that because they need to make sure they have tennis shoes every day.
Homework, we don't really send home packets or anything for them to do as homework. Right now, it's just reading 15 to 20 minutes a night, a chapter in a chapter book. We might send home later on either partner games or some kind of collaborative activity that is going to end up taking more than a night to complete, of just ways to get your family engaged in math at home.
Or we might say, like, when we work on our independent space projects, gather some resources at home, because that would help us.
Go to the library.
You go to the library. That's always a thing you could do. One of the easiest things I think that's helpful is if you print out, like, from websites, information, like kid-friendly websites.
Please don't send us 20 pages from Wikipedia.
You know, but like literally, if you type in, like, say your kid's studying Mars, you know, facts for kids, and it'll give you websites, and then if you print them out, they can bring them in. We teach them how to, like, to highlight,
annotate,
and take their highlighted portion and write their answers from that. So that's really helpful as well. Books are great too.
This is just a fun little infographic as far as if your child is reading 20 minutes at home every night, the percentage that they will read by the time they graduate. You can check that out later. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Lisa Cole while we are talking about reading and make you real big. Hang on. Ooh, can I make you big? Stop share. There we go.
Well, hi again, everybody. You might have heard from me in the introduction, but I'm our school's MTSS coordinator and help support students in a variety of needs. One of my roles is to ensure the students are receiving support in third grade in particular in reading. North Carolina has a law called Read to Achieve, our Read to Achieve law. It's a state law that requires that students are reading before they move on to fourth grade. It's well-intentioned. It's a supported law when you think about it's why we want kids to be reading before they go to fourth grade. And so one of the ways we do that is through data-based data collection and ensuring that students are reading at a level that is in relation to their peers nationally as well as locally. And there are some state-based regulations around that. The good thing is here at CFCI, we support all of our students as readers. The minute they are with us from kindergarten or whenever you join us, we're ensuring your students are growing in their reading ability. One of the ways you're going to see it as a parent is through what we call is M-Class Dibbles assessments. And these are reading sub-skills that students need to master in order to be fluent readers as well as great comprehenders as they move through their school career and into their life careers. So you will receive what's called a Home Connect letter 3 times a year that'll outline your students' reading strengths and weaknesses. It will give you suggestions on ways you can help support your students, as well as direct you to some other resources for your particular student. If your student doesn't seem to be meeting the needs, meeting those goals, and we're concerned about your child's ability to pass those third grade Read to Achieve law standards, you will know. We will be in touch with you regularly. You will hear from either Lisa or Julie, myself, and our support team, and we will definitely problem solve how to support your child as a reader. So really just wanted you to make sure you look for those Home Connect letters 3 times a year and talk with your teacher if you have any questions about it. You can also reach out to me. But the goal is to ensure students are ready to use reading as a tool to learn in their future. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions about that directly or your students' need for support in reading. Julie or Lisa, can you think of anything else I missed about the Read to Achieve law?
Yeah, like we had the composite score and all of that.
Yeah, and really that stuff is hard for parents, and so we'll be in touch with you. It's a really arbitrary number to you, and it's a formula-based system based on some assessments that we give from the state, but we know how to interpret them, and we know how to break it down for you. So if you ever have any questions about it, or about where your child is in that process, or need for support, please just reach out and ask.
Great, thanks, Lisa. What to do now? All right, back to, I think there's only like 2 more slides left, but hold with us. 3 minutes. This one is, ways you can help. So we are currently in the process of finding out if we can have volunteers actually in the classroom yet or not, waiting for confirmation on that. But we will need field trip drivers for this planetarium field trip for sure. And then when we get into those science and social studies units, if you know anybody that does anything space related or human body related, I know we had a few years ago, we had a chiropractor, a plastic surgeon.
Amy came one year.
And, and an EMS paramedic driver, like all came in when we were doing the human body. Somebody came in and did mud stuff. We played in the mud with us one year for the plants and soil, and a landscape architect, I think, at some point in time too. Anyway, we love those kinds of people that can come and share what they do and how it relates to what we are learning now. Jessica said, what's the process to become an approved volunteer for the field trips? So in the email that's going out tomorrow, I've got a link that goes to the form. It's basically, you've got to fill out your info and get a background check to be approved to join us, basically to be supervised on your own with a group of children from the school.
You've done it previously in prior years, it carries over. You don't have to do it again.
That's it. The end. 6:58.
Any questions?
More questions. We love you guys.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Question. I was trying to privately message one of the parents during the call. Was that disabled for this, or?
That might be because I had it set up for kids. And
Ashley, check your phone.
Ashley, check your phone. Gosh, Ashley.
Gosh.
You didn't let them chat with each other.
If I clicked on the text, then it would have, like, the video and everything would have gone. So I didn't click on it, Catherine. Sorry.
Hi, Java. Oh, I go get a puppy. All right, I'm going to stop recording now.